Welcome to part 2. My name's Les Steed.
I'm Marlon White.
And we're going to continue from where we left off and hopefully manage to address the topic of the day. I think that with ADHD, that doesn't define me at all. And, having it or not.
Do you have OCD as well?
No, not at all.
Okay.
Trust me, I do not have OCD. But I think that one of the things with, things like that is, because I take a few meds every now and then. I didn't take any today, which is why we're a little bit more erratic than last time. But
you take any meds today?
No, I didn't want to.
How often you meant to take your meds?
Oh, daily. I normally do, but I just thought I'd take a couple of days of not taking them. Felt like it really, and also because I was drinking quite heavily on Wednesday, and the medication will tends to use up quite a lot of your water. So I was told that if you're going to have a heavy night, don't take pills the day of and then the day after. So, for example, if I'm going to a wedding, which is ironically when you have a social event, you need to maybe be a bit more focused for. So if I'm going to a work do in future, I'll probably take my pills, but I won't drink too much. Not that you should ever, no one wants to be the drunk guy at a work do. It's really awkward. I mean, unless everyone knows you as the fun guy. I mean, that being said, I once rode a horse through a work party without realising it was a work party because it was someone's birthday, but then all our bosses came, which was like super awkward. But I was quite drunk because we went out as a group, all the younger ones, and then came back, and there was a horse in the field behind this girl's house. So meanwhile, all the bosses are sitting there doing that horrible thing that 40-year-olds do where, when you're over the age of 30 and you're standing there going, oh yeah, all the young ones are going to go off and have a drink, and so we'll stand here and talk and hold our wine glasses, like, weirdly. So I get back and I'm pissed, not expecting to see anybody. And I went out to the field to go take a pee because the toilet was being used up and I was quite desperate. And this horse nudged me and I shat myself. But once I calmed down, I kind of got all chilled out with it. And I used to work at a ranch in California as a horse counsellor. And so I can bareback ride horses. And I just hadn't done it for about 3 years, for about 2 or 3 years. And I was like, and this horse was really chilled. It was a really cool horse. So I just sort of
hold on. You can actually ride a horse?
Yeah. I can ride a horse. I can bareback ride a horse. I haven't done it for like 10 years.
Can we talk about your Camp America experience?
No. Yeah, we can a bit actually. Yeah, I got fired after 6 weeks because the motto was if Les swears, I wasn't very good with kids at the time. Because I was 21 and we'd just come from university. And it was like 2 weeks after university. They go, oh no, because I had to go home a bit early actually. So it was literally on the Tuesday we had our end of uni party. And then a week later I'm on a plane to go out to California. And I just don't think I was sort of mature enough or psychologically ready for it because I think what happens to me sometimes is that I act up to people's the way that people like sort of respond to me, if that makes sense. So we had this camp counsellor. My director just didn't really trust me. I think because on day one when they said you can go anywhere and check out the camp, I did as I was told and did go anywhere. And I went down to the lake and took the boat. I saw these like canoes and I took them out and just had a little paddle around the lake, which I thought was awesome, but we got told off for that. And I think from there on in, she had me down pegged as being irresponsible. So anything that I did that was irresponsible, which was quite frequent at that age, I would say, got kind of like compounded. And by the end of it, at one point she literally came up to me and said, do you think I'm fat? And she was standing there holding a block of cheese, chewing on it as if it was a fucking apple. And I had to stand there, look her dead in the eye in front of everyone. I felt so awkward. And I was like, yeah, but the wind ain't going to knock you over. I mean, this woman was a fucking heifer. Like, she knocked out a horse. And I'm sorry, you've got to have a bit of weight behind you to knock out a fucking horse. Like, it was standing on her desk.
America fat is on the next level.
Oh, it was weird. I mean, I'm not, she's a perfectly accomplished person. And, and I do respect the person, but I just didn't get on with them because I think that when someone's sort of, like, testing you in a way, it makes me really anxious. And I think that anxiety, without knowing that I had any anxieties, I just got really on edge and anxious around them, which made it look like I was up to something when actually I wasn't. And I was like, well, this is bullshit,
Do you have anxiety?
Yeah, of course. I think it's part of ADHD. You have anxiety, depression, and then, which are two things that you kind of, and also the more stressed you get, the worse those symptoms can be. So when I've had breakups, particularly this last one, those symptoms flared like crazy.
So what kind of symptoms do you have in regards to your anxiety?
With the anxiety thing, it depends on the situation. But for example, I can get quite overloaded quite easily. So if one of the things, I wouldn't call it an anxiety. This isn't an example of anxiety, but it's kind of a good example of general behaviour. Is that I will project and then try and if I'm in conversation with more than one person, or with 3 or 4 people, particularly people I don't know, then I will peacock. So I'll tell a funny story or something like that, and then I'll withdraw. So I make everyone laugh. That way I feel like I've got some level of control, and then I'll withdraw and then try and let the conversation flow. But by then I've dominated it for about 5 minutes, and I think that's quite.
Have you ever had a panic attack?
Not as an adult, no. It's not something that really happens to me. I think that I would say, actually, I'd say that I snapped at one point, like psychologically, I would say that I had a bit of a breakdown, but that was a very pivotal point in the breakup, and I think that was kind of the breaking point.
Because I've kind of come to realization that I also suffer from anxiety, but I never realized what it was until. Like,
where do you get it? Like, do you get it physically? Like
I get it physically. I get like in the chest. I feel like I can't breathe, and I feel like my head is gonna explode. Sometime.
Yeah. Do you find that you sort of like that everything's just overstimulating?
Depends. It doesn't happen to me all the time. It happens to me at certain times in my life.
Yeah.
It just like gets to a point where I feel like I got the whole world on my chest.
Yeah.
And I just feel like I can't breathe, and I feel like. I don't know, just feel like I'm gonna go crazy.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize that's what it was until like probably like the last 2 years, really.
Yeah.
I've actually suffered with the anxiety. I've actually had this feeling since I was about probably 16, 17. I didn't realize that's what's the case, but I remember having this feeling inside and feeling very angry, feeling very like. Like for me, I took it. I didn't take it to like. I didn't take it to a sensitive level.
No.
Like I feel like I want to cry or whatever. Although maybe you feel like that inside, but I mean, I took it to a very. I took it the opposite way to more anger.
Yeah, I think that's quite a.
And it's weird. It's like something that I've been unable to like shake fully.
Well, I mean, what do you do when you feel those symptoms coming on?
Well, now I've developed a few techniques, just like more breathing exercises, more trying to clear my head.
How do you clear your head? Like,
just try and slow down everything, just trying to just rest my thoughts.
Yeah.
It's hard to do sometimes.
It is hard, yeah.
It takes sometimes weeks, sometimes days,
really,
sometimes hours.
Do you find it affect your sleep?
Sometimes, yes.
Yeah.
So it depends. Like it might take a few hours, might take a few minutes, might take a few days, might take a few weeks, might take a few months. You can't guarantee how long it's going to take.
See, for me, I just stopped sleeping. It makes everything worse. And also, do you find it affect your dreams at all?
Depends. It can sometimes.
Yeah. Also, what do you do to distract yourself from that?
Depends. Like sometimes you get a relief by doing random things, but then sometimes it just don't get any relief mentally. And I can understand why like people feel a certain way in their head and end up doing crazy shit.
Yeah.
But for me, like I don't know, you just have to try to be strong, sort of.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've literally told my missus this for the first time really a few weeks ago. That I've actually suffered with anxiety.
You didn't tell her before then?
No, I didn't tell her. I'm told.
Is that because... Why did you tell her in the end? Why did you decide it was...
No, we were talking about it. We're talking about a topic about it. Like, you know, certain people like use their depression and anxiety to get away with things in life.
Yeah. And
I kind of have a problem with that.
Well, with using your mental health as an excuse to sort of perform differently.
Yeah. Just like... Now, I sort of had a problem with that. I'm like... Yeah, you might have mental problems, but like doesn't mean you can be a dickhead. Doesn't mean you can use that as an excuse. Get out a free jail card to get out of everything. Yeah, don't get me wrong. There's a lot of people that have mental health problems that are actually genuine
and a lot more serious.
Yeah, and
it depends on the depth to which it does debilitate.
But I think then it's hard to gauge it. How do you say like, oh, you're bullshitting or not? So like for me, people think I'm like the happiest person in the world, but there's times that I'm like literally. I feel like shit, and I like literally, like it's hard to go, like keep going on.
Do you feel the need to take a day off work under those circumstances?
Sometimes, but I keep going. I'm the type of person that's gonna keep going. Now I'm not gonna like
Yeah.
I mean, at the end of the day, I'm a man, and I'm not. I don't know. I have I have a certain level of, maybe they call it like toxic
masculinity.
Yeah, and I'm like, regardless if like I'm gonna be a man, and I'm not gonna be like,
we're just a determined person, really. I mean, I don't think it's
I consider myself a strong person.
Well, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so I'm not gonna be like, oh, today I feel like I want to spend like today in bed and cry or whatever. And I'm not gonna do that.
No.
But like, I guess that's maybe to my detriment, where like don't deal with certain things.
When I was having a bad time, like earlier in the year, I think that because I was quite badly depressed, and I think that I mean, like what you've described there is quite important because it resonates with a lot of people.
Yeah.
I think that I wouldn't subscribe. I mean, I would never say that having a bad day, it's okay to be sad. I think that's something that we do also lose track of as a society, is that, it's okay to have a day where you feel like shit.
Because it's those days that make you grateful for the days that you're very happy. That's how you identify being very happy. If you're happy every day, what is being happy? It's boring.
And also, it wouldn't be happy.
There have to be
normal.
times where like life is shit. Life is shit.
Yeah, I agree. I think that, but also, I mean, like, do you identify things that trigger that sort of feeling?
Sometimes I try to like shy away from certain things, but it's hard to describe what's going to like trigger you to feel a certain way. Yeah, I agree.
I think that going back to what we were discussing before about being triggered by other people in ways that well, I wouldn't say they would be under control, but I mean, like sort of certain situations. I think that part of what I've learned over the years is to avoid certain situations. But for me, I had a big problem with my work at the time because I was under review and I was really struggling with that. And it got to the point for me where I actually decided that it was a better idea to leave that.
So to cut you, they say like losing your job is you go through the same 5 stages of grief whether you lost somebody that's close to you. Like we don't really like to talk about, but like I've actually literally cried over almost losing a job.
Yeah, well, you care because you put so much of yourself into it.
Because it's a part of you, essentially. Yeah. Like, it's how you define yourself.
And it's not just that, yeah, exactly. I mean, firstly, in society, I mean, for example, I would define my girlfriend. I mean, I wouldn't define her myself as that. I'd define her as an absolute nut job. But that's because that's who she is to me, and that's what she is to me, whereas she wouldn't be that to anybody else, necessarily. Whereas I find that, one of the things about not having a real job, well, I wouldn't say I didn't have a real job, but one of the things about not having a proper job is that people do increasingly introduce you by your career. And I think that, and people then make assumptions about you due to that. After a while, they come to then identify you as a person, and it depends on you as a person as to how you come across and how much of that sort of you're willing to express. I also think that, like when it comes to the job thing, it is very difficult because, when I'm looking for jobs, for example, I find it quite hard because it's not just a job. It's like kind of like what we discussed about going on a first date. And, like you have that sort of feeling of, I'm going to make, this person could potentially be somebody I care about for a long time. This is somebody who may stand by my side for a long time. And also when you're going for a new job, you've got all those same hopes because you're not going to get dressed up smart. It's almost the same process. You get dressed up, you get your hopes up, even if you're trying not to, you still do. You start to look at yourself as being somebody in that role. And when you get that horrible little email from them saying that it's completely impersonal or, they don't even have the decency to call you. And even when you're just applying for them, every application is somebody who's seen themselves in that uniform, so to speak. And it's very difficult to be rejected, multiple times, by jobs in the same way that if I was dating, I don't know, there's so many parallels there, I think. And when you're starting to lose, that things are going wrong, that there's little you can do, but you try your best, and then it goes wrong. The pattern is exactly, almost parallel to a relationship, almost. And I think that that's why we've ended up segueing across into relationships and from work so easily earlier. That and the fact that, segueing's easy. Otherwise it'd be called on point. Yeah, it's interesting that it's not just me. And I think it's interesting that, you were saying that as well, because for me, when I was losing my job, really, I wouldn't say that, I left for multiple reasons. I think Do you find, like, when you're working, like, you put how much effort would you say compared to your romantic life would you say that you put into your job?
I don't take my work home with me. I just kind of like, I'm here. I work 9 to 5, go home. That's it, pretty much for me. I don't really care.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's quite different because
as I mentioned before, I've gone off point in like my career sort of thing where I'm doing something completely unplanned.
Yeah,
I didn't plan to do this after university. I kind of fell into this. I didn't really plan to this is what I'm gonna do.
It's weird how common
I got into it stuff. And then pretty much this is the only job I seem to be able to be employed for.
Yeah,
which is sort of annoying because I think like I have other skills. I'm open to other opportunities.
Yeah,
but it's kind of like disheartening where you feel like you only fit into one industry.
I think that these days a lot of people are finding they switch around a lot. I mean, for example, my situation is that I've got 2 CVs that go at the same time almost. So for me, but I can't make up my mind. So I'm kind of in the opposite to you. I have not fallen into anything yet. And I think that one of the difficulties is that when you're in a position where you can do sort of anything you want, well, not anything, but you need. I personally need a bit more structure in terms of what to do next. Whereas I think that you've got that sort of situation where you're in a very secure place, but you're not entirely sure if that's necessarily what you want long term. Yeah. I mean, how do you feel about? I mean, what would you want to do if you weren't doing this?
Well, as I said, I did my degree in business management and film. So at one point, I wanted to do something more like on the business side of film, maybe like promoting a film, maybe working on like how to get the film into cinemas and stuff like that. That's what I thought I wanted to do. That was the excuse that I gave. But so it got to a point like I finished university, got my degree. Then it's like, what am I going to do next?
I wrote a book on that part.
I applied for like the BBC, Channel 4, but
Same.
I wasn't really passionate about it. It's like, I'm not really sure why I went into this industry. The funniest thing about it is that I did film, but then I got more into music.
Yeah.
Hence, like, it kind of led into what we're doing right now. We're recording on using microphones that I bought for music.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh.
Essentially, all this equipment what we're recording on right now is for my failed rap career.
Well, what were you rap about? I mean, like, you're not like sort of, like. Oh, there's a really good Doc Brown. I don't know if his name's Doc Brown or whatever.
He's a comedian, yeah.
Yeah, he's brilliant. It's My Property. I thought it was absolutely hilarious.
Yeah.
But yeah, like...
No, I rapped about different things. I rapped about, like, my life. I'm not a gangster, so I'm not gonna rap gangster. I'm not gonna rap gangster lyrics.
I can't imagine you being like, yeah, fuck the police, and then when they come around, you're like, oh, no. Shit.
But I rapped about life. I rapped about society. I rapped about what's going on around me. So that's what I got into. I got into the music side. Also, I had a basic understanding because I did film studies. Because I understood how to edit certain things. So I got out of university, and then me and my friend decided, we're gonna do this rap thing. And then you felt like for me he wasn't as passionate as me.
No,
he kind of
that's quite difficult when that happens.
He sort of talked me into it.
So he talked you into it, and then you kind of like had a go at it, and then it just kind of like fizzled out a bit.
Yeah, so that's what happened. So like at first, don't get me wrong, he wasn't like completely. I'm just going to talk you into it and let you do it by yourself. Yeah. He sort of got the ball rolling away to the point where he's like, I've got the studio booked today, you coming?
Yeah. He probably should have told you a bit more than today ago, you know. I mean, like,
he called me on the day, like, I've got studio booked for today, you coming?
Well, that's not enough time at all. I mean, because you and I arrange these things every time, you know, I go home and stuff.
So that's what happened, like, I got studio booked, so I ended up just fucking having whatever lyrics I had written down, going to the studio, like this professional studio I never recorded in my life. So I ended up doing that with him for quite a while. And then like we recorded quite a few songs. He got me fully on board where I'm hyped. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna do all of this.
Well,
I'm gonna set up the blog.
It sounds like he's quite a good friend though.
Yeah, I'm gonna set up a YouTube. And then it got to a point where like I guess like maybe for him as well, life got in the way for him as well, where he needs to like make a living as well.
Yeah,
he needs to like. Part. Unfortunately for him, he didn't complete university like we did.
Yeah,
he ended up having to repeat a few times and stuff like that. So he ended, like, time got, like...
Was that his fault, or was it...
I don't know I didn't go to the same university, so I don't really know what the issue was, but it got to the point where he got very sidetracked to where he was working in Tesco at the time. Yeah, so he needed, like, I need to earn a living and everything. He got me on board, but then, like, he wasn't really passionate about it, and I was like, I'm writing songs, for example, I'm like, okay, I'm earning a bit of money now working in education, so I'm gonna invest some money into this music thing. So I was like, okay, what we're gonna do? I'm gonna buy a bunch of equipment.
Did you see it as more than a hobby, or?
No, I saw it more than a hobby. So I'm like, okay, studio costs £20 an hour.
Is that all?
That's a lot of money. It takes about maybe to record a decent song about at least 3 hours. So that's £60.
So that's £60 just to record a single song.
Yeah, a single song, and then like, if you might need to go back and record some stuff.
Yeah,
that's a lot of money.
I mean, also, it's going to wear on you as a person.
Yeah, it's a lot of money.
Energy levels, and also it takes up your Saturday.
Yeah, it's a lot of money. And also, exactly, we're working and everything, so this has to be after work.
Yeah.
And we're like,
so you're already kind of tired.
So it's already during the week. The studio's only open to 7. There's a lot of, like, effort to put in, so... Yeah, so I'm like, okay, what we're going to do, I'm going to learn how to produce.
Yeah.
I was never interested in producing, so I'm like, okay. I watched a few YouTube videos. I'm like, okay, I'm going to buy a bunch of equipment.
That's good.
So I Googled some stuff, and I bought this audio interface for about... Came together with the mic and headphones and the audio interface cost about £200.
£200 the whole lot. Yeah. That's quite an investment to make. I think,
especially at the time, I was only earning about £1,200 a month.
£1,200 a month, yeah.
I was only earning £1,200 a month.
So you put in about, what,
this is my first
and
job.
you're paying rent as well?
Yeah, I was paying rent as well. So this is like, my first job. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to put £200-300.
It's quite a lot of money when you're
it's quite money at that time. Not that much money now comparing, but I mean, like...
I mean, it's quite a lot of money.
Yeah.
Still. So.
Yeah. But like, so I was like, I'm going to put some money down for this. And I said to him, like, way it's going to work, I'm going to pay for the equipment. You find us some place to record. Because I was at my mum's place at the time. Yeah,
well, I mean, if you've already put it together, like all the songs and stuff, you may as well perform them.
So then, I did that, but he didn't do his part of it.
That's always the problem with businesses. I mean, I had a friend of mine, he's actually quite a successful businessman. His company makes something like 1.5 million a year, selling really cool stuff, actually. Like, like there's little sort of knickknacks and those personal things that your auntie fucking loves.
Yeah.
The kind of shit you get at the Lemon Tree.
Yeah.
That little knick-knack shop. I don't know why, but I mean, I think that... I don't get that stuff. But anyway, I've got a friend like that, and he was saying how any business needs like it's like a triangle, so you need like the advertising guy, the producer, and also I think the money guy.
Yeah.
And he was saying that he was producing stuff, the money guy was all good, and the advertising guy let him down, and then business collapsed.
Exactly, because like you need everybody.
Not his current one. His current one's very successful.
You need everybody to be doing their part. That's why I sort of like working on this project with you, because you seem to be really on board with like.
Well, I've written 4 episodes in a week, and I've been writing like I think I've got 24 pages of.
Exactly. So material, this guy's one of my closest friends. Like, we known each other from secondary school.
Do you feel like it's affected your friendship?
No, it hasn't affected how I feel about him, but it just means like I'm not really on board doing like business with him like that. But I mean,
see, I mean, like one of the reasons I got tested for ADHD was because when we were doing interviews for the project that I'm working on, currently working on an international project based in Chile, and and I went out there with my best mate from uni, and she was saying how it was quite difficult to work with me because I'm quite easily distracted, and I don't speak Spanish, but everyone we were interviewing, obviously because it's Latin America, was speaking Spanish. So trying to maintain a concentration or trying to pull my weight in that regard was very difficult, and I think that's one of the reasons why she probably wouldn't work with me again, was because I didn't really know what I was doing. I knew what I was doing exactly. I know exactly how to be a journalist. I'm a good journalist as well. But I feel that... like she got frustrated with me because I didn't know what, not so much.
So before you continue, like, can we go over what you did in university? You did criminology and psychology.
Yeah, I did criminology and psychology, and then I think afterwards, I worked in insurance, and hence the horse riding story. And I think I worked quite locally, and I was always looking out the window, and I think after about 11 months of that, I wanted to go into the Navy, and that fell through, but that was at the same time, and I went through quite a lot in that September. My nan died, and there were various other dramas, and ultimately, the ex that we were talking about before wasn't really there for me, and that's why, to say the least, she actually made things a lot worse. And I think that it was one of the reasons why, in fact, it was the main reason that I couldn't really, I just knew that at that age it's time to move on. So in order to move on, I took a CELTA, which is a posh TOEFL, which essentially was an excuse to go live in London. And actually I ended up living exactly where I then later went to university to do journalism. But I was took a CELTA in central London, went from there to Indonesia. I just took after working in finance for a few months just as a temp, which paid well, and I had a really nice time doing that, to be fair. I thought everybody who I worked with at that point was really good and really nice. And they told me that it rains a bit, so they got me one of those tourist Britain umbrella ones. So I was standing there in the middle of this absolute hurricane about 2 months later, and it's absolutely pounding monsoon. And there's me like, hang on a minute, at least I've got my umbrella. So I tried to fly the flag, and the damn thing flew off down the road. And there's me soaked to the marrow, running over, being like, come back, I need you, you are one of my presents. And nice people gave me that. And running down this road and just grabbing it up from a puddle the size of a lake. And anyway, so and then I went out to Indonesia, and I've really enjoyed it there. Probably one of the best 3 years of my life. But after a little while out there, I had a couple of girlfriends out there, and one of them more or less dumped me because, various reasons. But one of the main things was that I wasn't making enough money to create a family. And I was about 25, 26. So
to elaborate on that, how much were you making, in British pounds?
In British pounds, about £1,000 a month. But I was working 2 jobs, and I was working at the top, one of the best schools. And
what's that equivalent to over there?
Over there, it's almost the equivalent of having about 40 or 50 grand a year.
Oh wow! Okay.
So I had a house. I had a 2-bedroom house. I had a swimming pool down the road within my compound, which was a gated compound. Lunch was £1, and I was making around about 1,000. So, a pack of cigarettes was £1, beer was £1.50. We were going over to Bali every month. I had enough money and paying my water bill was 150,000, which is £7. And taxis and things like that. It all adds up, but ultimately we were living quite well, but it wasn't worth, it was what my policy really was to enjoy my time out there. So I was living hand to mouth on a month-to-month basis, maybe holding on to enough to get to the next year where I could pay my rent in one hit. Or if my parents were coming down or something like that, then I could give them the money. Because, they helped me get out there. They paid for my CELTA. And I was very lucky that they were able to do that. And a lot of people aren't that lucky. And I think that, they've been really supportive of me. And I think that that's a huge thing, the huge advantage that I've had, which isn't always afforded to people, and I don't think it's not fair, but I'm lucky to have it. But anyway, I was living out there for 3 years. I dated some incredible women. My friends were amazing people. I think it takes a certain type of person to want to go and uproot their life and move to the other side of the planet to a language where you don't speak the local language. Yeah. And Jakarta is a brilliant place, but my God, it is not a postcard picture type city. No one who's traveling is traveling to Jakarta. They're going. It's a stop off to Bali. Yeah. And I went to Bali a few times. Lombok is particularly beautiful. And I think that the adventures that I had, it was insane. But the problem I found coming back, I went back to study journalism at City University. And I think I studied international journalism because I wanted to then move from there abroad. Hence the idea of going to Canada with my ex. But it was very difficult because it's just reality is very different, and I think time moves quicker than sometimes people's imaginations, or and also we're using old information. Most of the stuff that I was basing my moves on were coming from my family, who were of an older generation. So what might have been true for them, if you want to become a journalist, then people respect you, and in her generation, in my mum's generation, for example, in my dad's generation, a journalist was sort of up there with, lawyers, doctors, whatever. We would be seen as, almost elite. But nowadays, obviously, it's a different industry. Everyone with Facebook's a journalist. Yeah. But anyway, but I always have that image in my head of this jet setter journo going from, who gets given an assignment and just goes off like James Bond. And of course, that's not the case at all because, the internet has moved so quickly that, why bother sending somebody over there when you can just click on the reviews on Google and then figure it out from there and then give them a ring? I mean, it's just crazy. I mean, we're not going to spend £1,000 on sending someone over to Chile if you can help it. Anyway, I digress. But since then, I worked at local news and then working from local news, which was an amazing platform and a really, really good, fun job that I do not regret at all. I moved from there to, the situation I'm in now, where I went across to Chile with a very good friend of mine, and we ended up coming back. Yeah, we ended up here again. So now I'm recording my own podcast, which is super cool.
Self-employed.
Yeah, self-employed my ass, unemployed dickheads. But it's I think it's going back to what you said, where life has its ups and downs. I mean, there have been some incredibly low points. And I've gone through a couple of jobs that I didn't want to lose, and others that I chose to leave, which for good reasons.
Yeah.
But I would say that a lot of the logic behind some of the moves I've made have been to do with heartbreak or to do with social circumstances more so than economic ones. And also, I think leaving Indonesia was a good move to make at the time because you either stay out. I think that we had out there was this sort of thing of the 3-year cutoff.
Sorry to cut you. What do your parents do?
My dad's an engineer and my mum's a ex-teacher or translator.
On average, how much they make?
Not a clue. Not really. I know that we're middle class. Let's put it that way.
You're middle class.
But I wouldn't say we were a Rotary Club. We're middle class. We're more like sort of middle class. I mean, they've made enough money to be able to retire and afford a dog.
It's just you and your brother?
Yeah, I mean, there's only 2 of us, and and we haven't gone to private school or anything like that because I think my mum put it to me one way, which was to go to the school that I did, which was St Bede's in Red Hill, where on a Friday you go home at 2:30 and you have less homework, or go to the local grammar school where David Williams went. Now I got into the grammar school, but when you tell an 11-year-old kid or 10-year-old kid, do you want more homework but maybe better A-levels? And I'm like, I have no concept of A-levels. I don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
That's like when I'm 16, I'll be fucking ancient.
Yeah.
And then it's like, or less homework and mummy and daddy can afford to take us on holiday occasionally. Fuck yeah, I'm going for the holiday one. So I did that and I don't regret it at all.
But you think like your parents' income was able to affect how you're able to your outlook on employment, in the sense that you could sort of like depend on your parents?
I think I would never say I would willing to depend on them, but I know that it's there. It's sort of like when
so you're like, because you're self-employed at the moment,
but I'm not making any money at the moment.
Not making any money at the moment,
so and I'm living off the savings that I made.
So you're living off your savings. You're not living off your parents, or
no, not really. Okay. I mean, they help me out.
Obviously, you live with your parents, so you're technically living off your parents. But I mean, like,
well, yes, no. I mean, they're not charging me as much as they could be.
But beyond that, you're not like, they're not paying for you.
No. Well, I mean, I think when the motorbike went missing, my mum wanted to give some money because she just basically heard my heart break down the phone because I rang her straight away. I mean, like, it's weird how in situations when you're absolutely terrified and your heart, when your world just collapses on you, which is what happened then. Like everything. I mean, it was all I owned, and I don't have much because of the way that the life I've had. I personally own fuck all. I own a motorbike, and that's it.
Okay.
And my clothes, and that's it. But she wanted to help me, and she said that she would give me £2,000 to just to sort of buy the bike that was right for me, because I think but I didn't like that. I felt a bit embarrassed about that. I didn't feel like, because it wasn't my fault that some bastards came and stole my thing. It was my bad luck, and I don't feel like it should have been hers. And
I think my point in that question is like, do you feel that the direction your career has taken, do you think it would be different if your parent was, for example, poor?
Yeah, I think so. I think that journalism is the luxury of the middle class. It's just not, or middle. Or
do you think that you would choose like some of these jobs that you've left? You think that you would have stayed in these jobs if your parents were?
I didn't leave them on purpose all the time. Huh? I didn't necessarily leave them on purpose.
But I mean, like the ones that you did leave on purpose. Do you think that would have happened if you, for example, if you was in a different situation where you didn't have parents that were able to sort of like?
Yeah, I think I still would have been sacked for being unprofessional or.
But I mean, like, for example, I mean, like, somebody from my background can't afford to be in a position where I'm sacked.
Yeah, I mean, no one likes doing it.
I would probably never be in that situation because I can't afford to be in that situation to the point where I'm like, fuck this, I can do what I want.
I would never, for the record, I would never say fuck this to a job, but I think at some point, for
example, I would never be like, you know what, I don't even like this job, I'm just gonna quit and do something else.
You see, I think the thing is that when I left...
have you ever quit a job without having
No, I don't quit ever. I really do run it into the ground to the point where I don't really have a choice. The last job I left because I was unhappy.
Yeah.
And it wasn't worth it in the end for me to stay there.
Yeah.
Because I didn't feel happy. And I think a lot of that wasn't... I mean, they were perfectly nice people. They were very
supportive. So you said they let you go, or did you quit?
I quit. But I quit because I felt like I was being a bit...
But did you have like something lined up?
I did it. I thought I had something lined up, and I had pretty much a sure thing, but it wasn't a sure thing, but I put a lot of hope into it because I think that when you're in a position where you're losing hope in one thing, you start to hold on to another. So I think, for example, and it goes back to that sort of parallel between jobs and relationships. I had a few, I was looking for jobs at that time because you kind of can feel when the ship's starting to tank a bit, and I didn't want to be there myself by the end of it because they wanted me to stay, I think, but I also felt like they also didn't. And I think that I was making, I just felt quite, I didn't feel like I wanted to be there in the end, I think. Because I think that, having been under review because of mistakes that I was making, but they were mistakes I didn't understand related to ADHD. So everyone was in the dark about that, and including me. And I think that, when you compound that feeling of inadequacy in both my relationship that I was still struggling and reeling with. I mean, I was going to the bathroom to fucking cry my eyes out randomly because I just kept getting waves of this horrible emotion. I think that, and then I don't think that's really conducive to a good working, when you're trying to work and concentrate on a job where the pressure keeps mounting but the pay doesn't. And I think that I felt undervalued and I felt inadequate as a person. And I think that was reflected in my work and also in my private life. So on the whole, I just needed to stop everything and just make everything stop and just get away from that and try and find myself again, which is a luxury that I couldn't afford it, but I could only afford it because I had savings and because I had, and because I was kind of fucked anyway. I didn't want to remain somewhere that was making me depressed. I didn't want to stay somewhere that was making me feel inadequate. And I wanted to change my career path so that I could actually take the steps that I was trying to take originally before my life had fallen apart. But I think that also previous jobs, for example, I have a problem with being professional, which is something that a lot of people with ADHD do have. And I'm not using ADHD as an excuse. It's something that I've always...
you're saying, essentially, you've been just recently diagnosed with
ADHD? In last September, so only about 3 months ago. I've been taking medication for about 3 months. And we're still kind of finding this sort of Goldilocks.
So your parents never had a suspicion?
Oh, everyone had a suspicion. I was tested when I was 9, but there was varying degrees of, the diagnosis differed. I think I might have fixed it once. But I think that... and also testing changes over time, and I think that adult ADHD is quite rare, so I think it was one of those things that at the time... Also, my mum was a teacher, so
essentially it's attention disorder.
Yeah, ADHD is where you can't maintain your attention for some time, but it depends on how... But that's not entirely accurate. Focusing was a problem for me, but it depends on the context. So, for example, if it's something that... One of the things that, as a journalist, I struggle with is reading boring texts, which is annoying because it's the core of what journalism is, real journalism anyway. Not to say that, anyway, so my point is that, it has to be something I'm interested in for me to fully engage. And when I do engage, it's complete. I'm really 100%, I will ignore the world around me for it. But I think that if it's something that I don't find, interesting, or, and I wouldn't say that something I didn't find, I find difficult tasks fine. It's not a question of difficulty. It's not a question of being lazy. It's just a question of engagement.
So essentially, you did local journalism. So you're not gonna get like a high profile case or something.
Oh yeah,
crazy.
We would, but I couldn't go to court because I didn't have the shorthand. Oh. So, but I mean, for example, there was that murder that happened where a guy got stabbed on a train, and it was a dad, and it was national news. And we were reporting on that. We were going nuts for it.
Is that the one where he was with his son and then got stabbed by this black guy?
In just past Guildford.
Okay, yes.
So it was literally around the corner from our offices.
Yeah.
But the ones I really liked,
I remember seeing that where he got life in prison.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, and
it's an interesting story because it was an argument he had with the guy, and then he sort of followed the guy.
Yeah.
To continue the argument on, and then he ended up getting stabbed. And
wait, who followed who? I mean, did the guy with the kid follow the black guy?
Yeah. So
Really?
So
are you sure about that?
That's what I read in the paper. I don't know.
So the guy with the kid took his kid and followed.
They didn't take the kid. He kind of like I don't know exactly what happened, but essentially they had an argument about something. The guy with the knife walked away.
Did he actually walk away? Because
he walked into a different carriage. Then the guy kind of followed him and said I don't know what he must have said to him. Why he followed him. He followed him and you need to apologize to me, sort of thing. And then he ended up escalating to him getting killed. From what I read, in the paper, I don't know if there's any like different story or anything. Yeah. I mean, or if I'm getting this wrong or anything. But
well, I don't know. I mean,
it's from my interpretation of reading this in the paper. So I just thought that's sort of like. No, you don't have. Nobody has the right to murder you over some bullshit argument. Yeah. But yeah, like
it's weird. Like if somebody,
I just think it goes to show that in like especially the UK or London, like it's not worth arguing with people. No worth pursuing like your honor. Like just leave it alone.
I think that just pride leave it and honor.
You don't know what somebody's got in their heads.
No.
What somebody's
or in their hands or in their pockets.
Yeah. No, you don't know what somebody.
Equally, I don't think you should be afraid to have an argument with somebody who upsets you. I mean, for example, if somebody went and pinched my girlfriend's ass, I would have a fucking word. I don't care who they are.
Yeah.
But I think though equally
sometimes in a certain situation I just think it's just not worth it. I just feel like
discretion.
Whatever that situation was, it's just not worth him losing his life over some bullshit. You have an argument with somebody, it doesn't need to escalate to that level.
Yeah. But never needs to escalate to violence, really. I mean, I think that one of the things that I found, although, I mean, there was this case where the last person I really wanted to hit, and I still think I should have, it was this little arsehole. We called him Goat Dick because because I just had this image, because to make myself feel better, I had this image of him trying to suck himself off and he had a goat dick because he was a complete creep. This guy was the slimiest piece of shit ever. You know that guy who's like trying it on with the girlfriend, but like being really sort of like sleazy, just trying to get a rise out of you? Well, he got one and I pushed his coffee all over him. But then my ex, the one who he was trying it on with, took him downstairs and told him basically if he ever fucking spoke to her again at all, then she would tell everyone about how he was a fucking orphan and a piece of shit for a human being. Oh yeah, I know, and it was one of his secrets. But hey, I know it, so fuck him. And but he was an absolute piece of shit for a human being. And I regret not having punched him because he deserved it. But equally, I didn't because.
Have you ever been in a fight?
Yeah, a couple of times. But weirdly enough, never for being too lippy.
Huh?
Well, it's just been. I mean, you know, I don't like to fight. I don't start fights myself. I used to get bullied quite a bit at school, and I think that I would always try and turn the other cheek. And I think that you have to have prolonged stuff. And then, you know, sometimes, people push your buttons. They're trying to push your buttons, and they push one too hard, and then you snap. And I don't think that I would ever start a fight. I'm not somebody who would go around being the big man or anything like that. I don't think it's worth it. I don't have enough pride for that. I'd rather just not have a bruised face. No one wins in a fight. Everyone just goes home a bit fucked up, and it's really annoying. And it's like, I don't want to go around with a black eye just because some twat was being a twat. It's like, I'd much rather have them look awkwardly weird and then have everyone else look at them and be like, yeah, you're a cunt. And that's a lot more damaging to them than me doing anything, because then I'm a cunt as well. And I think that, so I try not to rise to things, but I think there have been situations where I felt threatened by somebody and reacted physically because that was all I could do. And I think a lot of what I've heard from my girlfriend is that a lot of people who come in who've been stabbed, they're not usually fatal because nobody's trying to stab people. And I've never been in a knife fight or anything crazy like that. But I mean, I've only ever really punched a couple of people, really. I mean, the only time I've ever really used violence has been in positions where I feel that I've been heavily provoked. I've never gone out of my way to try and attack someone. I don't understand that mentality at all.
Have you ever swung a punch at somebody?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I just said that I did. You know, like, yeah, and I didn't. I mean, I only hit him once, and he went down. Thank God, because I was like, and I won't lie, there was that little moment of yes, because I was like, never really. I didn't want to hit anybody. He was coming at me. He slapped me in the face twice, and he goes, "I think you're scared. I think you're scared."
I challenge you to a duel, sir.
Yeah. No, but he wasn't even doing that. He was like, "I think you're just scared of me," and he slapped me in the face, and I was like holding a beer, which I brought for him because he was already being a knobhead. So I was taking him out. It was a friend of mine until about yeah, he started to go off the rails a bit, and he was a bit of a strange one. And he kept starting fights with everybody because he was insecure and because he wasn't making enough money and because he'd been fired, and he was in a very bad place, I guess. But I was putting him on my sofa. He was living at mine.
Oh.
And he was, but his idea of being nice about things was to try and beat me up when he was being a bit of a when he was he was really, really drunk. He was borrowing money off everybody else, and he threw a chair across the bar that we were in, and everyone was a bit like, all right, enough's enough, let's take him aside, have a chat with him, because he and I were very close. And then I brought my beer. I filled up a beer. I was like, come on, let's have a quick chat, shall we? Because, people were very angry. Other people were about to hit the guy. And I was like, all right, let's just try and de-escalate the situation. Took him aside. And he slaps me in the face a couple of times and then knocks the drink out of my hand. And as he did that, I was like, fuck it. And just went bang and caught him. I was aiming for his nose and I missed. I got his lip. I think he's still got the scar. Hope he does anyway. Fucking prick. Don't hit me around. But you know what I mean? This is what I mean when I say I was provoked. I mean, I didn't.
Was that the first punch you swung?
No, there was another one called Sam Porkins. He was a cunt.
What age do you say that was?
I was about. Okay, so the first guy was about 22. It was in Indonesia, and so I'd been about 25. But that's the last time I've hit anybody. And then,
I don't think I swung a punch at somebody as an adult. I punched somebody in the arm.
You did once.
I punched someone in the
I
arm.
remember a uni situation where you punched someone.
I've never punched somebody in uni.
I think you threw something at somebody. You tried to punch me once.
No, but not properly. I mean, properly.
No, mate, I think you were quite drunk. I think you did swing at me. In
a proper situation where, I'm going to fuck you up. I mean, I've never,
I wouldn't fuck around with you.
Yeah, I've never,
for fuck's sake.
I've never, I don't think I've been in a situation.
My fucking legs.
Most time people back down and then there was that situation where we're not going to talk about it right now.
Yeah.
But, I mean,
we have a pre-contract where we're not allowed to talk about times we've been in trouble. Yeah. In case anyone who's ever going to employ us listens to this shit. In case.
Disclaimer.
Disclaimer, there's nothing to see here. Move along, don't impeach me.
Yeah. But I've never really swung a punch as an adult. Playful maybe in the arm or something, but not I'm going to punch you in the face. I haven't punched somebody in the face since I was a teenager.
Yeah, I think it's really hard to do that as well, because I feel like, I think that punching someone in the face, you're going to leave a mark.
Yeah.
You're going to get yourself in trouble. Boy, there's evidence there.
Yeah.
I feel like that's a lot more sort of... as an older brother as well, I kind of taught myself it's probably a bad idea to punch anyone in the face, because I think you kind of learn these things.
There's times I wanted to deck somebody, and then when I was about to deck somebody, they're like, oh, no, sir, I'm sorry. I'm going to apologise to you right now.
Well, fair enough. They've backed down, but at least you've let that happen. Yeah. You could have just gone all out and really decked him, but
I've been walking over. I'm ready to deck this guy, and he's like, suddenly this
all
guy.
All of a sudden, those big bollocks are going nice and small.
Yeah, suddenly he had a change of heart, and he's apologised to me and everything.
I fucking apologise. You're 6'6".
He's apologised to me and I'm sorry. I'm just gonna apologise. I'm gonna shake your hand and everything, and I'm like, okay. What can I do if somebody's going to shake my hand and I'm apologizing?
Well, you can just slap it away, but I think that makes you the dick.
I'm not going to do that.
And it's like, you have, if they've made an attempt, but then again, they've also wound you up to the point where you want to hit them, so it's kind of on them as well.
So it's
just because all of a sudden,
as an adult, it's happened a few times where I'm going to punch this person in the face, and then
what did they do?
We just little disrespectful things, and then,
lots of little things that kind of built up.
No, it'd be they just be really disrespectful.
What do you mean by that?
For example, there was this guy we knew in Kiel. I think you knew him. And essentially, he spent his entire education at Kiel pretty much indoors. 3 years he spent indoors.
Poor guy.
Essentially, in his third year, he finished all of his work. You know how in his third year, he finished work early?
Yeah.
As opposed to the first year.
Oh, yeah, because you've got about a month of blowing off steam.
Yeah. So he finished his work early and he's like, I have nothing to do now. So he But
he didn't have any friends or anything, did he? Or what?
No, not really any friends, but there's us lot around. So he's like, oh, well, you guys are always going out. I want in now. Okay, I have nothing to do. I've done my work. Well, I want to be able to do what you guys are doing. So he took my number down randomly one day and he's calling me every day you guys going out tonight? You guys going out tonight? You guys going out tonight? But essentially, because he was new to going out.
Oh, he kept getting shit faced and getting everyone in trouble.
No, he didn't drink. He didn't drink.
He didn't drink?
No. But for some reason, the girls love
What's
him.
wrong with that then?
There's nothing wrong with it. You just literally sit down and girls come over to him and like, you want to come back with me tonight?
Fucking Christ.
He was living the life.
Yeah, what was he doing other than working out? He must have spent the entire time studying and working out.
He didn't work out.
What?
No, he was just like, girls come over like, do you want to come back with me tonight? And he would be like, no.
What?
He was like a virgin, like 23.
bless him.
Yeah, so like girls were coming up to him like nothing.
Yeah.
And then randomly on the last day of Kiel of first year,
Yeah.
you've gone by this point.
Yeah, I was probably in a different country at that point, yeah.
This girl came over to him and like, oh, you got a nice ass, and blah blah blah.
Fair enough.
I'm like,
Okay.
I left him to it.
Yeah.
And then he's like, this girl's talking and complimenting him and whatnot. Like, as I said, like the girls are coming up to him every night.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
Do you want to? Like, and he's like, no.
Yeah,
I'm
fair
not going
enough.
to do that.
Yeah.
Because obviously he's religious and everything. He's not going to do that.
Yeah.
But then this girl came up to him like, yeah, you got a nice ass and everything. Oh, blah blah blah. And then her boyfriend comes over.
Oh shit.
Yeah, her boyfriend comes over and he's like, he's a gentleman, so he's like, yeah, just make sure you take her home and everything. She's like, yeah, she's a good girl. Take her home. Make sure she's safe.
I reckon the boyfriend probably thought that your man was chatting her up.
Yeah,
not the other.
But
way
then he
around.
got annoyed. He goes, yo, fuck you. I don't need no prick like you fucking telling me how to take care of my girlfriend. Type
Fucking
thing.
pride and jealousy, Jesus Christ.
So I'm like, so then I see that situation happening. So I step over. I'm like, he's not even trying to do all of that. Then he's like, fuck you too. I'm not scared of you.
Oh, so he's got a little dick syndrome.
Yeah, so he's like, fuck you too. I'm not scared of you. He's like to me. So I'm like, whoa. I'm trying to escalate the situation. I'm not trying to even cause the problem. I'm trying to.
Problem is when you try and do that, you still get involved in the situation.
Yeah. So I kind of then thought he said that to me, and like, I have a problem with disrespect. So I'm like, what? So I'm like, okay, I'm gonna like fuck this guy up.
It's like, you're not scared of me yet.
Yeah.
And you fucking should be.
So after I used to wear this big sovereign ring.
Oh god, yeah, don't keep it too classy.
The problem with the sovereign ring, he used to cut me when I punch people.
Oh yeah, because then it kind of leaves evidence that you did it as well.
Not even that, it does as well, but I mean like he used to cut me as well. So like cut my finger, so I like took the sovereign off, took my hat off. I'm not gonna fuck this guy up, and this guy's like, you know what? I'm gonna apologize to you right now before anything.
Yeah, good fucking idea, dickhead.
Yeah,
like, because he just knows though he's gone from being big balls to questionably big balls.
Yeah.
But then again, I think you get a lot of guys. I mean, to be fair, I've been in positions where like these two guys came over, and my girlfriend was looking. This is the jealous one, ironically. She used to sometimes get proper dressed up, and it'd take her hours and hours. And it's just fucking exhausting. But anyway, so this one night she gets all dressed up, and this guy starts chatting her up. And then I was a bit like, okay, what the actual shit, and then his mate came over and goes, oh, sorry, mate. We're just doing a social experiment where my mate's just going to test to make sure that your girlfriend's loyal to you. You know what I mean, mate? You know what I mean? Anyway, so I was like sitting there looking, and I was like, oh, fuck it. I know that she is anyway. So, you know what I mean? To be honest with you, she'll probably break his hand anyway if he touches her. So I was like, reasonably safe. I mean, she was just enjoying the attention, I think. And then I was pissed off as fuck.
Is this the girlfriend I know?
Who?
It's the girlfriend I know.
Yeah, the one yeah. That's what I thought you said, Anna. I was like, we don't know anyone called Anna. Anyway, so you were like, well, I actually work for somebody called Anna, but anyway. So she was like, and it was just a really bizarre thing. But I think under that circumstance, I kind of was tempted to go over and slap a few people around a bit, but it's not worth my night, really, is it? It's like 9 o'clock at night. I'm out there to have a good time with my mates. She's going to tell me fuck off anyway. And it doesn't really matter. But I think in the situation where this guy who you end up in an altercation with seems to have had a bit more of a problem with the fact that his girlfriend seemed to be a little bit friendly with other guys. And I can see why he'd be insecure under that situation. I don't think it's entirely his fault that he ended up all tense about things. Because imagine if it's not just your mate who's had that problem with.
I think the problem is sometimes girls like try to put guys into that situation.
Yeah, people like the drama.
Yeah.
And I think that's not fair.
I think that's unfair
for guys do it to girls as well sometimes.
Yeah, I think that's unfair. I think that's unfair for the guy where it's like, your girlfriend's putting you in a situation that you're gonna have a fight with another man.
Yeah, it's
awkward. I don't think that's fair. Like,
what does it do?
I think as a girl, you should try to deflect your man from being.
Yeah, but you don't want another. Oh, there's nothing worse than when you've got girls being like, "It's not worth it. It's not worth it." You're like, oh, come on.
But it's like,
why would it not be? Just let the two of them fight. We've all come outside to watch this.
That's true. That's true as well. But like, if you're like on purpose putting them in that situation,
that's really cool.
Where they're gonna have to fight.
Anyway, look, it's been a pleasure, ladies and gentlemen. We have to go because our time's up and we have to put all the recording equipment away.
So this is the Off Point podcast where we tend to go off point, not just in topic, but in life.
Jesus Christ, help us all.